Hello and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. My name is Michelle Snow and I'm Patient Education Librarian here at Princess Margaret Cancer Center, and I will be introducing our speakers today. The topic today is on Introduction to Clinical Trials at the Princess Margaret Cancer Center. And we have two speakers. Our first speaker is Julie Gundry. Julie is an advanced practice nurse educator for the Cancer Clinical Research Unit here at Princess Margaret. And Julie has experience working as a clinical trials nurse at several hospitals across Canada. Jasmine Grant is an education specialist working with the nurses, the coordinators, and the physicians in the Princess Margaret Cancer Program. Jasmine offers educational sessions to staff, which prepare them to conduct research according to regulatory and international standards. So please join me in welcoming Julie and Jasmine. Thank you.
So welcome everyone, I'm Julie, this is Jasmine, and we'll talk to you about some clinical trials today. So do feel free to ask questions and interrupt. This session is for you. We primarily tailored it for a patient audience, but hopefully everyone will get something out of it. So first, just a few words about metrics. This is from 2014, so if we look at the enrollment in clinical trials at Princess Margaret, we can see that as a center we're doing fantastic. About 20% of our patients who walk through the door are involved in some sort of clinical research at Princess Margaret, and the goal is to double that enrollment. And this is just a breakdown of all the patients who do get involved in research at Princess Margaret. This is a breakdown by the disease site that they're associated with. So if we look at this, about 25% of our patients who are involved in research are within the urology disease site. So the differences between the sites, it can vary, but reasons for differences are, for example, the number of trials that each site has open, the type or complexity of trials, so obviously trials that we're just following patients or well follow-up, so we can enroll more patients than very complex intervention studies. And it also it varies by the number of people who are affected by that type of cancer that we're researching.
So what are clinical trials? Clinical trials are research studies that involve people. And they also involve our tissues, blood, tumors, all different types of tissues. And our cancer clinical trials here at Princess Margaret are designed to test new ways to treat cancer, but also to find and diagnose cancer, cancer screening, etc. We're looking at ways to prevent cancer and also manage symptoms of cancer and the side effects of treatment. So not all of our clinical trials are aimed to cure cancer or to slow it down, but some of our clinical trials are in order to improve our processes and improve the way that we treat our patients here at Princess Margaret. So our clinical trials also offer early access to treatments that are not available currently in our program. They could be promising new treatments, again, they could be diagnostics, and another reason that patients might consider joining a clinical trial is to help support the advancement of research. So all of the data that we collect during clinical research studies and clinical trials goes forward across Canada and internationally to advance cancer research. Now, to note that all clinical trials are federally regulated at the Health Canada level, at the FDA level in the United States, but also are regulated against international standards around the world. We're sharing all of our data through peer-reviewed journals, so we really are contributing to the scientific integrity of cancer research and cancer treatments globally. They're closely monitored. All of the data is protecting patients first, so with a strong emphasis on patient safety and taking care of our participants. They look for better ways to prevent, treat, and diagnose a medical condition. They sometimes involve a control group where we're looking at our treatment compared to the standard of care. And our cancer trials could involve drugs, that could be pills or IV medication, radiation therapy, surgery, and sometimes a combination of surgery and then a pill or medical treatment afterwards, or a variant of these three interventions. So while you're at Princess Margaret, it is very possible that you could be asked to join a clinical research study or a clinical trial. We are considered a research hospital, and we encourage all of our physicians and all of our investigator physicians to participate in research, to create protocols, to do investigator-initiated research. So at the physician level, generating new ideas for the academic community and internationally. So it's very possible that you might be asked. So some of our metrics I wanted to share with you. In 2015, over 2,000 participants went on to a clinical trial here at Princess Margaret. Also in 2015, over 8,800 participants participated in some kind of a research study, which could involve blood or tissues or biomarkers, genetic studies, or could have involved an intervention. So why are they important? Clinical trials are the best way to find out whether a promising treatment works in humans. Again, they're regulated, they're carefully controlled, participant safety is utmost importance, and we're looking at all the data that comes in a scientific way. Before any new cancer treatment can be approved, it undergoes a rigorous clinical trial application and goes through the 4 phases of research. It's required by law in Canada to involve Health Canada, the Therapeutic Product Directorate in Ottawa, and also when we work collaboratively with the United States, we are reporting to the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. Now, a clinical trial can have different focuses, as we mentioned. One can be prevention. Is there something that we can do systematically across the cancer program to prevent cancer or prevent a disease from happening? A diagnostic treatment could involve, are we able to view our CT scans in a more clear way using contrast and make our diagnosis of cancer faster or more accurate? For quality of life or supportive care trials, is there something that we can do to make our patients feel better? Can we improve their quality of life? Perhaps reducing their pain or treating some of their symptoms of depression or hopelessness? Can we improve their day-to-day activities, getting around the house or doing their financial management and getting their groceries? How can we make our patients feel better while treating their primary cancer? And the treatment. These would be the interventional trials that we have, either treating with surgery, radiation, or chemotherapy. Yes, so anyways, we'll move on.
One thing I wanted to add is that at Princess Margaret, we do have a really active phase 1 program as well, which is really exciting because we're such a research-focused institution. Our investigators are doing a lot of research and innovation in research, so a lot of the studies that we are carrying out are the first time that this intervention has been used in humans, which is, it's a really exciting place to sort of be involved in research. We are kind of at the cutting edge of new treatment development.
Great. So just to review who sponsors clinical trials, first of all, we have academic research, which Julie has mentioned, and that could be the physician conducting research on their own with the help of a grant, or an intergroup. An intergroup is a collaboration across several academic institutions, and the 3 intergroups that we communicate with and do studies with regularly involve the NCI, National Cancer Institute, the National Cancer Institute of Canada, and NRG for radiation therapy trials. Now, a sponsor is defined as an organization or an institution who initiate the process with the regulatory authorities. In our case, it's Health Canada, and they initiate this process through a clinical trial application. And then they continue to communicate with Health Canada about safety updates, about clinical trial sites that are participating, and all the safety data is reviewed and monitored. They also provide the funding. And so if an investigator is doing research in Canada and it's initiated, then the funding would come from a grant application. The other sponsor that we commonly work with is the pharmaceutical industry. And they would both sponsor the study, communicate with the regulatory authorities, and source their funding. Now, I want to be clear that all the research that is happening in Canada is covered by the international guidelines, which is the International Conference of Harmonization, ICH, GCP, Good Clinical Practice. And this same standard is applied across pharmaceutical industries and academic research. Oh,
Hi, sorry for interrupting. I just have a question. Do you know, like, the percentage of the clinical trials going on here,
yes.
the percentage that are academic-driven versus pharmaceutical companies?
Yes. So we actually have the split across 3 different types. So we have our investigator-initiated, which is around 30%. We have our cooperative group, which is around 33%. And the remainder is pharmaceutical industry, which is around 30%. And we consider that 3-way split a healthy balance in order to make sure that we have funding within our research departments and we're able to support the academic research that goes on here. So we wouldn't be able to support 100% academic research. We do need, the pharmaceutical industry to come in and support at least 1/3 of our research. But that's our current 2015 split based on last year. Yes?
Earlier that clinical trials can be prevention or diagnostic or quality of life or focused on treatment. Do you have a percentage split on that in terms of where our focus is?
I would. I don't have it at my fingertips, but we certainly do capture that data. We use a clinical trial management system where we have all of our clinical research studies, so that could be our correlative blood samples, genetic testing, as well as our quality of life, process of care research, as well as our treatment. And we keep every single study within this system so that we can monitor our percentages. So I'm happy to get that information. I'll get your contact afterwards and I can share that. Good. Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the patient experience in participating in clinical trials now, sort of changing track a little bit. So the first question that most patients have if they're interested in getting involved in research is who can participate in clinical trials. So every trial, regardless of who the sponsor of the study is, follows a clinical trial protocol. And every protocol defines what we call eligibility criteria. So this is a list of criteria that define who can participate in the study and who can't. So the eligibility criteria for most studies are pretty strict, which can be frustrating for patients. If there's a study that they really want to participate in, but there's something that's holding them back, it's probably the eligibility criteria. The reason that they are so strict, number one, is to protect the patient from receiving a treatment that might be unsafe. So we have a lot of blood tests and physical exams and assessments that need to be done for patients before we can make the decision about whether the trial is appropriate for them. We want to minimize the potential harm to the patient. So for example, if we know that a new drug that we're testing is metabolized in the kidneys, we have to be very strict about assessing the patient's kidney function before we can put the patient on study. The other reason that the eligibility criteria are strict are to help the researchers identify people who will most benefit from the treatment. We want to compare like to like. A lot of our studies are happening across the world. So in order to be able to say definitively that this drug or intervention makes a difference for this population of patients, we have to be able to compare across patient groups. So we need to make sure that our patients are as similar to each other as possible to participate in this study. Patient safety and well-being are definitely the top priorities for everyone who's conducting clinical research at Princess Margaret. One of the ways that we ensure patient safety is by having all of our studies. Every study that's conducted at UHN is reviewed by the Research Ethics Board. And it's reviewed several times during the course of the study. First, before the study starts up, every study must be reviewed and approved by the Research Ethics Board. They're looking at things like the risk-benefit ratio. So making sure that the potential risk to the patient or the potential side effects from our intervention are balanced by the potential benefit of this intervention should it be successful. We don't want to expose our patients to unnecessary risk or unnecessary harm if their potential benefit isn't high. The Research Ethics Board reviews each study annually. So that's to make sure that the researchers are following the approved protocol, following the approved plan, and conducting the research in accordance with our ethical guidelines that Jasmine mentioned. They also do reviews periodically throughout the year. If there are any changes to the benefit or changes to the protocol, so if the researcher wants to add a new test or change the intervention slightly, that needs to be approved by the RAB. If any unexpected event happens, so if an unexpected side effect comes up, that gets reported to the Research Ethics Board too, so that they can evaluate that risk-benefit ratio again and make sure that it hasn't changed. The Research Ethics Board is composed of a group of a variety of people from a variety of backgrounds, including physicians, scientists, and researchers who are familiar with the type of research that's being proposed. But there's also community representatives, lawyers, and community members who are interested in helping to monitor research, and who are representative of the community that are going to be asked to participate in the research as well. So the next question patients often ask is how they get involved in a study. The best way, the first step, is generally to speak with your doctor. Your doctor is the one that will be familiar. They are familiar with the types of trials that are available for people with your type of cancer or type of condition, and they're also familiar with your personal case. So they know what may or may not be appropriate for you, or what is the best treatment option for you. So your doctor and your healthcare team, nurses as well, are definitely your best resource to start with. If there's not a study available to you at our site, your doctor might also be able to refer you to somewhere else that an appropriate study is open. So they will be familiar with studies that are going on around the city or around the country, and they can help you make those decisions. But unfortunately, right now, there may or may not be a trial that's right for you, and expressing your interest to your doctor opens that door to the conversation. They might keep you in mind for future research if they know that something is coming up. So that sort of open communication is really important.
So what we'd like to share with you is the ability to search and to find out more information about specific clinical trials that may apply to you or to your family members. So we're going to show you two websites. The first one will be clinicaltrials.gov, and the next one will be Princess Margaret website, including a search function for clinical trials. So within clinicaltrials.gov, and here's the address right here, clinicaltrials.gov, you can search. So in my case, I'm going to search ovarian cancer, and the capital "and" is important. I'll say Princess Margaret. And you'll be able to scroll down and find whether the status of the clinical trial is recruiting, if it's completed, etc. By clicking on the study title, you can find more information about the study itself. You can find what the experimental arms are, the description, a brief look at the eligibility, and contact information for more information.
Does this also tell you who the PIs are, the primary investigators?
Yes. So the principal investigator is located here.
Oh, there it is.
So in this case, it's Dr. Amit Oza, who's a gynecological oncologist here at Princess Margaret. Another site is our Princess Margaret Cancer Center website, and we do have the links available to you if you're wanting to see this. Right now, we're under the Research tab, and we're under the Cancer Clinical Research Unit. Clinical trials, there's a search function here. You can choose, I'll choose a breast cancer study, and you could be more specific if there are multiple sites. And this website is pulling from clinicaltrials.gov, but it's also pulling from our clinical trial management system, the clinical research record, which I referred to previously, that has all of our open research studies at Princess Margaret. So these two pieces will pull to say whether it's open and what some additional information might be and who the contact information is. So this is a good resource. And then if you have any other questions, we have a general mailbox called Clinical Trials. We'll post it for you. It's clinicaltrials-pmh@uhn.ca, where you can email any questions, and you could include your phone number and we can answer general questions, or we can connect you with the study team who might be able to answer more specific study questions. Additionally, we have a patient education brochure, which is located in the patient education library. Here's the email that I referred you to, the website link. The Ontario Institute of Cancer Research has their own trials network that you can search within. And here's the clinicaltrials.gov, as well as the Canadian Cancer Society phone number.
All right, so once you've identified a trial that's right for you, and you and your doctor have decided to move forward with getting involved in this study, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's involved once you sort of take the next steps. So generally at Princess Margaret, you'd be identified as a potential study participant by the investigator, by your physician. So you may approach them asking about research options, or they may approach you and say that they have a study that's open that they think would be a good fit for you. If you express interest and want to learn more about this study, then you'll meet with a research nurse who will come and bring the informed consent form with you and go over and begin the informed consent discussion with you. I'll talk a little bit more in detail about the informed consent discussion in a few minutes and what's involved in there. If you decide to consent to this study, if you decide that you want to participate in this study, you would sign the consent form, and then you would enter the screening phase of the study. So this is where we're doing all of those tests, the blood tests or imaging tests or physical assessments, to make sure that you do meet all of the eligibility criteria, to make sure that it's safe for you to go ahead and participate in this study. If you're successful through the screening process and you want to continue, the next step would be to register you into this study, and that may or may not involve randomization. So depending on the type of study that's being conducted, if there are different treatment arms and we're randomly assigning you to a different one or the other treatment arms, that would happen after you completed this screening. Once that's happened, the next step is to start the study intervention. So this can be various timelines. Some interventions are just one time. Sometimes you would continue receiving the intervention monthly or weekly for as long as it appears to be working for you and as long as you want to continue participating in the study. And you would be followed by the treatment team, by the study team. So that might mean that you meet with the study nurse and the physician every time that you come into the hospital. It might mean that it's follow-up phone calls every few months. It really depends on what the study has defined. So one of the most important steps in getting involved in research is deciding if the trial is right for you. So I'm going to go over some factors that you should weigh when considering participating in a study. The big things to remember is that the decision is always up to you. Your physician might be very excited about a study, but if you decide that that's not the right option for you, we will, of course, always be respectful of that decision, and it will not impact your relationship with your healthcare team. And you should ask a lot of questions when we're going through the informed consent process to make sure that you're really understanding what's going on. So some factors that you want to consider when thinking about getting involved in a clinical trial are about the study itself, about the care that you're going to receive during the study, and about personal things affecting you in your daily life. So about the study itself, you want to know why this study is being done, who's running this study. So is it an investigator-initiated study, or is it sponsored by a particular pharmaceutical company? Where is the funding coming from? What are the risks and the benefits to participating, short and long term? That's a really important one to really understand. And remember again that it's your right to ask as many questions as you like before, during, and after the study. When you're thinking about your care on the clinical trial, you'd want to think about where your treatment is going to take place, how long you'll be in the study, are there any extra tests or procedures because you're participating in the study. This goes along with personal issues, so if patients live far from the center and the trial is asking them to come back weekly or twice a week for treatment, it's really important to consider the impact on your quality of life and your day-to-day life and how that fits in with your own goals for how to spend your time. You'd need to know if you need to do any extra homework for the study. So some studies will ask you to fill out questionnaires or keep diaries, which is another thing that's impacting on your time. And you should compare this with what the standard treatment is or what your doctor would offer if you were not part of the clinical trial. So some trials, maybe the standard of care is an oral drug, but the trial is asking patients to come in for an IV medication. That has a different impact on how you're spending your time and how your transportation and things like that. So those are important to consider. Again, this is goes hand in hand with the study itself. So how will the study affect your daily life? Does the study interfere or conflict in any way with my personal beliefs and values? Can you speak to other people who are on this study? That may or may not be possible, but if you're interested, you should ask the study team if that can be arranged. And is there support for me and my family in the community? So the next thing I'm going to talk about is informed consent. Informed consent is a process. It starts before a patient gets involved in a study and continues for the entire time that they're participating in this study. You should get, during the informed consent process, you should get answers to all of your questions. All of those factors to weigh that I just went over should be discussed with you during the informed consent process. If the nurse who you're talking to doesn't bring them up, you should ask about them. If there's something else that I didn't talk about that's important to you, you should ask about that. You should be fully informed before you decide whether or not to go on to a clinical trial. Standard parts of the informed consent discussion that we always cover are why the trial is being done, the alternative treatments or the standard of care outside of the study. What are the other options for your care? We would always discuss what extra visits and time commitments would be expected of you. We would also talk about the risks and benefits and also the confidentiality. So when you're participating in a trial, people outside of your circle of care may have access to your chart. That could include members of the Research Ethics Board and representatives from the sponsor. So you need to make sure that you're comfortable with that. And also the trial team should be explaining to you how your confidentiality, how your health information is being protected during the study. And this process doesn't stop when you sign the consent form. It should continue on throughout this study. So I mentioned that the REB will review studies if any changes are made to the study. So if any new interventions are added or any change is made to the protocol. Patients who are participating in the study also need to be informed about those changes.
I'm just wondering what would happen if mid-study I pulled out. Does the information that they've collected up until then remain in the study, or is it all removed?
So generally in studies, usually what happens if you decide that you don't want to participate anymore, Anything that has already been collected and has been de-identified, so has had all of your personal information removed and has been supplied to the sponsor, would remain in the study. Anything going forward, obviously you wouldn't continue participating in the study, so we wouldn't continue to collect any information. If there are samples on site, so if we've drawn a blood sample and we haven't yet shipped it off to the sponsor and you withdraw from the study, it's also your right to ask us to discard anything that we still have here on site. Yeah, but generally, once the information has been de-identified, had all of your information removed, and it's gone into the sponsor's database, it's not possible to get it back, but it shouldn't have anything that can trace back to you at that point. There we go. So in clinical trials, we need to keep very accurate records about everything that we do. And the way that we record when a patient has consented to participate in a trial is with the informed consent form. This is a signed document that you sign and a member of the study team will sign as well. And that's just a record that you've consented to participate in the study. It's kept in your chart. It's available to other members within the hospital of your healthcare team within the hospital who are caring for you, so that if you're admitted to a different unit or if you visit the emergency department, they should be aware that you're participating in this study, which is another layer of safety. The consent process can be conducted in any language, whatever language you feel most comfortable with. The consent forms themselves are generally in English, but we work with the interpretation services here at UHN. They will send a trained medical interpreter to the informed consent meeting so that they can translate everything that's being said, and you can ask questions in the language that you feel most comfortable in. And that's really important. Even if you feel comfortable in English, if you feel more comfortable having the informed consent discussion in another language, that's possible, and our nurses will definitely accommodate that. It's no problem. The biggest thing to understand is that just because you've signed the consent form doesn't mean that you've committed to seeing the study through till the end. If you get into the study and things change, if you change your mind, if you start to feel worse, or for whatever reason you don't want to continue on with the study, maybe it was more of a commitment than you anticipated it would be, you can withdraw from the study at any time. You don't have to give us a reason, and it will not impact your relationship with your healthcare team. So you can continue to see the same doctor, the same nurses, and it won't have a negative impact on your care at all. So patients really shouldn't feel that they're, committing to signing their life away to this study. If it's not right, if it turns out it's not right for them, then that's understandable. All right. And so in closing, we just want to thank all of the patients who are currently or have in the past participated in research here at Princess Margaret. And we want to thank you for having us here today.